Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinela. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Come on, say hi, everybody.
Hi there.
Hello.
We'll go around, don't worry. First and foremost, I can't say that no better day to drink wine than every day. Agreed?
Agreed.
I would have to agree.
Bart?
Agreed.
However, this is a special day. And today, not only is your anniversary, Devin, but it is National Wine Day, which is what brings us all together.
What better day than National Wine Day?
How does a day become a national day? Does anybody know the answer to that?
I feel like there's a day for everything now.
Why not? Why
it
not?
really seems that way.
I mean, Devin, do you know
I don't
why
know.
it's National Wine Day? Somebody just threw a dart at a dartboard and it happened to be today.
It's today. Because National Drink Wine Day is in February, but today is National Wine Day. So who knows?
So you know that there is a process to having a national day of anything, and there's a calendar with open dates. And don't ask me the actual process, but there is an application process, and if it gets approved, it's the day.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is very
Official.
interesting. Not only, what's interesting too is that there's not only a National Wine Day, but there's a National Wine Drink Day. So on National Wine Day, you're not supposed to drink wine?
I think,
You're just
I think you're
supposed to
supposed to drink
celebrate
wine every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
We established that, right? So let's formally introduce you, Devin. Why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your company, which is what brought us this beautiful wine that we're going to taste and discuss today.
Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Devin Loke Ulrich, and I represent Foley Family Wines, which is a portfolio of about 40 different wine brands. When we've got wine from California, Oregon, Washington, and New Zealand.
Wow. So as we get into this, I won't steal your story, but we will talk about your wine allocation a little bit, Bart, and how you discovered one or two of the Foley family Pinots.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right.
Let's keep everybody on the edge of their seats.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
So what do we have? I mean, let's pop
start.
some bubbly, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Should we let Bart do the honor? Do you want to
Of
introduce?
course.
I can, if you would like.
You can pop it.
So,
And we can let Devin
Yeah.
do the...
okay.
This one is the Lucien Albrecht Brut Rosé, and I call this the marriage of the two hottest categories there is right now. So we've got rosé and a little bit of sparkling, and this is a Cremant, and I believe you were gonna.
Yeah, we were going to ask Scott if he
Right.
knows what a Cremant is.
And I very subtly under my breath said, I do not. But I would love to know.
How about Nick?
I
I'm
do
gonna
not.
Give you a
No,
chance.
I'm not a bubble connoisseur like yourself, Bart.
All right.
So
A Cremant is a sparkling wine that is made method Champenois, not in the village of Champenois or Champagne. So anywhere else in France that they make sparkling wine, but it also has to follow the traditional. There's other ways to make sparkling wine, but if they follow a traditional method of Champagne, it is a Cremant.
okay.
And this one is from Alsace, and it's 100% Pinot Noir.
Where is this from?
Alsace.
Okay.
Scott knows exactly where Alsace
I
is.
do not. That was my next question. Where is this region?
So, upper France, lower.
I want to say it's east,
Yes, it is east, north.
north of.
Danielle can maybe look that up.
Yeah,
Help us out here.
it's on the east central.
And it's on the border. Boy, I'm rusty.
So would a
I'm
Cremant
rusty.
be on the sweeter side, the drier side? What would we...
You tell us. Why don't you, I want
Yeah.
you to taste this, and you tell me.
Okay.
This is like the gem of our portfolio. It's one of my favorites. I love bubbles, though. I know you're not a bubble connoisseur.
I am not, but I that
Thank
doesn't
you.
mean that I don't enjoy it. It's just I don't nearly know it or drink it enough to really know what to buy, where to go. That's why something like this is great because
Yeah.
you get it introduced to new things. So
Well, we should change that. The fact
Yep.
that you don't drink
Cheers.
enough.
cheers.
Cheers.
To National Wine Day.
I see why it's your treasure.
That's very nice.
It is.
It's definitely not dry, but it's not sweet either.
It has a dry finish. It's good.
Yeah, that's very good. I would think you would like that a lot, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I don't like sweet in wine in any capacity, really. I like dry wines across the board. Doesn't matter the type, really.
Yeah, but you also like very mountain cabs and a lot of tannins
Earthy
and
and
very earthy, whereas Bart does not particularly. I think part of just the purchasing of wine. So I'll use an example. I was just at, I guess you'd call it a resort, and they had a sommelier there and an interesting class. The lady was very knowledgeable, and there were some things. I always learned something from any of these conversations.
Yeah.
And she talked a lot about how just the different approach of how France makes wine and how Italy makes wine, and that, in particular, Americans per se aren't necessarily big purchasers of French wine or Italian wine because of the way the labels are designed and just the foreignness to what I'm buying. It's unfamiliar to me. Whereas intimidating. A French wine will never say, Sauvignon Blanc, or it says more of the wine region that it's made of, and you need to know
And the village.
what grapes that region produces.
Yeah.
So unless you know that, you're kind of flying blind.
Right.
And I don't know one label from another label. So by default, I'm going to go where I'm most comfortable. To your point, I enjoy champagne or sparkling wine, but I only know maybe one or two labels. And outside of that, I don't acquire.
But I would argue that'd be most people when they go to a store
Right.
and they're going to buy anything, they're going to go off of what they recognize from good marketing, right? Or, oh, that's a cool label. Oh, I heard cabs are good, and they're just going to buy what's familiar, not necessarily what they like.
And that's the
Right.
same as in a restaurant on a menu as well. People want a safe bet. They're spending a little bit of money, maybe a lot of money, and they want a safe bet of something that they're familiar with. So it's not every day that everybody goes outside of their comfort zone and picks something new or takes that risk.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, we're in California. California has an amazing production of wine, so that's a part of it too.
California sells in California.
Right.
Right.
I want to change that. I love Oregon wine as an example, or Washington wines.
Agreed.
But you don't, or I would say Oregon a little bit more than Washington in terms of its availability.
Right.
But they make some wonderful wines.
Oregon's in demand, and I would say buy your Oregon wines now because prices are going to go up. They got hit hard by the fires last year, and production is down about 70%
Oh,
Wow.
for this
man.
current vintage. So,
Oh my gosh.
definitely purchase your Oregon wines now.
So what would the current vintage be then?
2019 and 2020
Okay.
is what is out there right now and what people are bottling.
Okay. Wow.
The fires are
Interesting.
2020 though.
They were, and when were
Yeah.
the Napa Valley fires were the most
Well,
recent ones?
Napa Valley's had so many as of late. It's almost
Yeah.
every single year,
Seems
and
like it.
it's another dry year this year, so we'll see what happens. But hopefully, we'll escape that this year. But
on
Oregon
wood.
was hit the hardest last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with Foley Family, you mentioned 40,
40 different labels.
and that's just wines.
Correct. We have one brand, one spirit brand, which is Horse Soldier Bourbon. Exceptional story. That's a conversation for another podcast because it's the original people that were. If you've seen the movie 12 Strong, it's
yeah.
the people the actual living people that were that movie is based upon have developed a bourbon brand called Horse Soldier.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
And so where's that made?
They're actually building a distillery in Kentucky right now. It's currently being bottled in Ohio, but they're building a distillery, and it'll be the 13th distillery on the Bourbon Trail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. And the
All right,
person that
we
runs
gotta-
that brand is local.
we gotta
so
get our
them.
hands on
Yeah,
some
we got to
of
get
that.
them in here. Absolutely.
Let's do that.
We
we know people. We know people.
We definitely do.
All right, so speaking on to this wine. So can bubbles be a wine for any occasion, any meal across the board.
Bart,
time of the
you
year.
cannot answer that first.
Because Bart would say 100%. Devin.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love bubbles. I could drink bubbles all day, every day. So yes.
The only exception I would say, I would not probably do a rosé brut for any meal, any time. I mean, it's wonderful,
Right.
but just a regular brut. And about 2 years ago, Tish and I went to a dinner, and it was Cristal, every course, different vintage, every course, and it was amazing.
See, that would be something you would never see, right? Typically,
exception
Yes,
to the
it was-
rule.
yeah.
right? An exception to the rule where you're seeing a bubble with multiple courses, because it always starts off with the lightest thing you can eat. You know, maybe some caviar, maybe an oyster, right? The quintessential things you hear.
So champagne or sparkling wine is known as the most easiest to pair with, and pretty much anything. Just think about dessert, appetizer.
Yeah.
Mastro's last year, their number one promotion that they've ever done in the history of Mastro's
Yeah.
was champagne and fried chicken. During COVID,
Oh,
it
wow.
beat sales of any other promotion that they've ever done, and that was takeout only. So champagne and fried chicken. It's supposed to be the ultimate pairing.
Oh my gosh, we got to do that. I'll bet you their fried chicken is exceptional too.
And it's only on special occasions. So if you ever see it, get it. It's
Wow. It's so
Unreal.
funny because whenever we go to any steakhouse, Melissa's really, as you know, my wife, she's not much of a steak eater. So for years we would go to Roost Chris or to when we would go.
Yeah.
Never would she order the steak. It was always the chicken dish. But I got to tell you, they do a hell of a chicken as well.
Absolutely.
So don't knock it unless you've tried it.
That's great.
I don't know. You wouldn't eat this with a big tomahawk. Or you wouldn't drink this with.
Not the rosé, but I
Yeah.
A
would
brut?
a brut.
You would?
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
would I? No, if it Cristal, yeah, I would
Yeah.
go straight. But if it's a tomahawk and I'm looking at a couple of big cabs or a champagne, I'd go to the cab. But it's not saying you can't.
Right.
So what about them at the Pool Cabana in Phoenix?
Oh, all
And
day.
it's
Rosé.
115 degrees.
Rosé all day.
L.A. Lucian Albrecht, we call it L.A. all day. Absolutely, it's perfect
that's
for the
the thing.
cabanas. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
So this is part of the Foley family.
Correct. Yep.
Why have I not been a part?
So much to learn. So
Fun fact, I was a member.
Yes.
That was the first winery I ever joined was a Foley family. I was a kid when I joined, 2010.
yeah, so I want to break this in two parts.
Yeah.
One, Devin has to wait for the corporate response, the factual response. I want to hear from the consumer in what you love, because you'd rave about the Foley Family
Yeah.
Society and what that all meant and what you gained by being a part of that. And it was like, gosh darn, I need to be a part of this. So give us first the consumer.
The consumer version. Well,
yeah, just your
so-
testimonial.
Yeah, so me and Brittany would go up to wine country, San Ynez, Los Olivos, all up in that area with my parents, because my family's always been wine lovers. We'd always drink wine. And so we'd always go up there and do wine tastings, and we stumbled across Firestone Winery up there. Fell in love with the property itself before the wines. It was gorgeous. It's on kind of the backside, rolling hills. It is beautiful. And became members there because they had fantastic wines, reds especially, which is unique for up there because up there is typically Pinots and Chards that you're seeing more of that region. And so they had some bigger reds, and I was like, wow, this is good wine. So we joined. And then traveled to Napa and became members of Foley. Once again, fell in love with the property of actually Coletto. Sorry, not
Yeah,
Foley.
Coletto.
Of Coletto for the property because it's the most
Which
gorgeous.
you love. You've talked about that multiple
I tell
times.
everybody that ever goes to Napa, if
a
you don't
very
go,
unique
if
property.
you don't go to that property, you are missing out of a special place. And their wines are fantastic as well. So we were members of those two places since 2010, and it's great because you get to taste and gain access to all these different wineries, and they all have fantastic wines. You get discounts at all the different wineries. So now, anytime we go to either Napa and or Los Olivos, San Ynez Valley, we're tasting for free basically at any of the Foley family places. And we're buying wines at discount and getting perks and all these cool things. You build up points. You could do all. It's a really cool thing, and it's like a total commercial thing, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
It really is, and they have good wines.
Where do you work, Nick?
I know.
So that's why I
You're
wanted
welcome,
him to do
Devin.
that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was the
Yeah, it's perfect.
testimonial.
It's honestly
true.
perfect.
And
It's
then
perfect.
now the
Yeah.
actual specific,
Yeah.
response.
Yeah,
Can
so
you
it's basically
enlighten us?
Yeah, it's the umbrella company to all things Foley Family Wines and beyond. So it's called the Foley Food and Wine Society, and it encompasses food, wine, entertainment, and really like travel, everything.
Hospitality too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So it strings together all of our wineries. Obviously, it started out as our direct-to-consumer website where you go on there and purchase wine and accumulate points for purchase. And then redeem those points for future wine purchases. Well, in our wider umbrella, there's a hockey team, the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Go Knights!
Wow.
Yeah. There's several resorts, several restaurants, and all that. So now, when you purchase your wine and you're accumulating those points, you can, by all means, cash in those points for future wine purchases, or you could cash it in for merchandise, tickets, a stay at a resort, or if you really want to go big, go skiing in Montana or something like that, and experience as grand as that.
What wineries are in the San Ynez, Los Olivos region?
So we've got.
Hold on. Let
Yeah.
me
Okay,
see.
let's
Let me
test
see
you.
if
Let's
I
test
miss
you.
any. So you have Foley, you have Lindcourt, you have Firestone, and that's it.
EOS.
Oh, that's Paso.
EOS, Two Sisters, yeah. And that's what we call our Central Coast properties.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So-
that's
Good
Paso.
one.
See,
Yeah.
I even knew that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lindcourt, Two Sisters, Firestone, Chalone, which is actually really Monterey, and then Foley Estates.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you have Foley, which is, essentially on the west side of the 101 as you're heading up.
Over by Babcock, off the
Yep,
101.
exactly.
Past.
So the only time that I've gone over there was when I
Yeah.
talked to you and you said go to Babcock. I
Yeah.
went to Foley
I haven't
and
been to
did the whole
Babcock.
thing.
Yeah.
Sanford's over there as
Yeah.
well.
Both all great.
They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you have, the other two, Lindcourt and Firestone,
Yeah.
kind of on the east side.
I got to take a second when Nick said, I was just a kid, and I'm looking at him like, you're
Still are.
still a kid. What are you talking about?
Thank you. Thank you.
But not me, though.
I didn't think about it when I looked at you.
No offense taken. What are the New Zealand labels? Because obviously we have
absolutely,
definitely
absolutely.
attention to
So
New
we've
Zealand.
got Vavasor, Clifford Bay, Grove Mill, and then Mountain Difficulty, and
Wow.
then Dashwood.
Wow, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Rumor has it that Bill Foley, who's obviously the owner of all of this enterprise, that he's the fourth largest landowner over there.
Really?
Yeah.
But he's a U.S. citizen.
Yes. And just has an affinity for New Zealand. His kids learned winemaking over there. They visit often, and just have a deep love for New Zealand.
As do I.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. I tell everybody it should be. Actually, never mind. I won't finish that statement.
Exactly.
I'll keep that.
Keep that
Keep
to
that to
yourself.
myself.
That's a good one to keep.
Okay, so on that,
Yeah.
New Zealand is very much known. This is not, but New Zealand is very much known for a beautiful Sauv,
Yep.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Yep.
Melissa, my wife, she endears Sauv Blanc,
Sauv Blanc. Yep.
mostly through our connection to New Zealand and just having enjoyed some of their wines. This is a Napa.
This is actually Sonoma. So this is Chalk Hill, and it's from the Chalk Hill AVA. But this is our Chalk Hill Estate Sauv Blanc.
Okay, 2019.
Yep.
I think we have some.
Unusual because Sonoma's more Chardonnay.
And the Chalk Hill
Correct.
Shard is
Yep.
fantastic.
So
Yeah,
Bill
that's what I
Foley-
thought it was. I got
Fantastic.
really excited.
Yeah. Bill Foley actually lives on property. So he lives at Chalk Hill. What he drinks day in and day out, his go-to is the Chalk Hill Estate Chardonnay.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, another one of those hidden gems within the Chalk Hill portfolio.
Now, I really enjoy Sauvignon Blanc over a Chardonnay, unless it's an unoaked Chardonnay. that's an exception, but they're not necessarily, certainly not in Napa, they're not that easy to come by. William Sellium makes one, but you're not a big fan typically of Sauvignon Blanc because of the...
I said you weren't young, so now you're calling me out?
Yeah. Gosh. Hey, I love them.
I mean, on the scale, it's not on the, the highest of my scale. It's a little green and bell pepper for me, which aren't not my favorite. This one is actually drinking pretty good. I do like Sancerre. I just think it's a kind of a mellowed down version. And Scott, on my Chardonnays, I have gone more towards the less oak and the Chablis, which, for those who don't know, Chablis is also Chardonnay grape, northernmost point of Burgundy. And that's basically no oak. That's all steel. So I'm heading in your direction, just not quite Sauv Blanc yet.
Right.
But Scott, didn't you
I think
say
this is wonderful.
New Zealand Sauv Blancs were completely different than the ones you've had here, flavor-wise?
Yeah, they're more green.
Yeah.
They're more bell
They're
pepper.
definitely more green. Definitely. I would say they're going to be drier, a little bit drier than this, a little bit less sweet. The thing about, I would think, New Zealand, I mean, just the making process of the wine is dramatically different. The irrigation is going to be very natural, and so that produces.
And the heat.
This is, again, the consumer.
I mean, it's this, the
climate,
sun.
the soil, and everything's going to be a lot different. But they're very, very different. They're very crisp, very citrus forward, very green. Yeah, but I like that.
That's a great description.
Do you like raw green peppers, bell peppers? Yes.
See, I don't know. In New Zealand cabs, I don't get that.
No? Fresh cut grass.
But I'm not a level 2 sommelier like you are either. So.
Well, it's all what you like and don't like. That's fine.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, for me, I'm with Bart on that one. Not a big Sauv
person. But you love rosé, though. You enjoy
I do.
Rosé.
A good dry rosé. Yep.
Yeah, like Culetto. You love their
Rosado.
Their Rosado.
Fantastic.
You love that.
Oh, it's one of my favorite pink wines I've ever had. Yeah.
It's okay to be. It's okay. Real men drink rosé.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Rosado all day.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite have the same ring.
It does not, but
As
it
rosé all
tastes
day.
just as good all day.
So the restaurants. I mean, there's, I don't know, how many restaurants that are part of the Foley Family Society?
Just a handful. They've got some in the Healdsburg area. There's also some national chains that he's associated as well with as well. So
those aren't necessarily an ownership. Those might just be an association that are part of the society.
Some he owns directly, and others he's the majority investor in.
Got it. It's a very interesting story because you have all these different wine labels which have a winemaker, they have a history.
Yep.
Like Culetto, as an example, is a very unique, the owner of that and the story and the backdrop there.
Right.
I think I believe in the Bay Area he was a restaurant owner.
Yeah, Pat Culetto.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal property. I mean, just the drive up alone, if you make it to the top.
If you make it, half an hour. It's a half an hour windy road.
It's one lane, maybe not even one lane. It's it's narrow. It's steep. You get up to the top. There's a reason we make everybody leave at 3:30 p.m. That's when the winery shuts down, just to make sure that everybody makes it down safe. But some of the most outstanding views that you can see looking over the Napa Valley. But there's, I think, 7 or 8 pizza ovens on the property as well, outdoor pizza ovens, obviously paying homage to Pat Culetto and the empire that he's built.
Wow.
It's really cool too. So where it sits, it's directly next to Pritchard Hill. So if Pritchard Hill, Beverly Hills of Napa cabs, like the most expensive wines you're ever going to find in Napa, right there, and it's literally on the peak right next to it. So they're getting fantastic wines, but not paying the rent cost of Pritchard Hill with fantastic wines. So it's a cool property, cool experience, and it's part of the family, so you get to go.
Right.
And it's by appointment only, the whole thing. So it's great.
Nice.
So going back to the Chalk Hill, the property, correct me if I'm wrong, was in, I mean, the one I've been to, it's in Napa and it has the cannon. Is that right? Or am I thinking of a different?
Chalk Hill is in Sonoma.
It is.
So
Okay,
it is
that's
in
the
Sonoma,
only-
Yeah.
Got it.
The one that you've been into with a cannon.
The entrance in the hillside, there's a cannon, and I could have sworn
There's
it
no
was-
cannon. It's
No.
it's up in the hillside
Yeah.
though.
It is.
Yeah.
So you go
In
you're,
Sonoma.
You're driving in Sonoma, like you're up there, and you pass Roth, and then you head up
across
the hill,
gate. Right across the gate from Roth.
which is another Foley family
Yeah.
property.
Okay.
I
I'll
tap
have to-
them
I'll
all.
have to look
I
that
think you
up.
need to revisit.
I do.
Yeah, I think we need to do
Well,
it.
the last time I've been, well, we went obviously for
Yeah.
a friend's celebration, but that was really just the one day of
Yeah.
true tasting.
Yeah, and-
Before that, it was my 10th anniversary that we've
Okay.
been up there. So it's
Okay.
been a very long time.
You're overdue.
Too long.
Overdue.
We're overdue.
Yep.
Clearly needing some more practice, Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. We should look that up, though. I'm going to argue that there's a. So what are we tasting here next?
Okay, so this is fun. This is really fun. So, our Banshee tasting room is in Healdsburg, and they bought an old vintage sign that said El Pino Club, and it's a huge old metal vintage sign that they've got hanging in the tasting room. So, at some point along the way, our winemakers and marketing team were sitting there and saying, El Pino Club, this is just too good. We've got to create an artist series called El Pino Club, and it's basically the tale of terroir, and the tale of 3 different Pinots from 3 different distinct areas. So it was released last year. So we've got one from Santa Rita Hills, we've got one from Dundee Hills, and then one from Russian River Valley. So the one we're going to taste here today is called Funky Jory, and this one is from Dundee Hills, Oregon.
And did you mention it was a Pinot Noir?
Pinot Noir,
Yeah,
correct.
just so
Yep,
everybody
yep.
So
knows
Dundee
what
Hills,
we're
also
doing.
Willamette Valley, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And so the other, are they, this is Oregon.
This is Oregon.
The others are what states?
So the cusp, which is part of the Pinot Club, the cusp is from Russian River Valley,
Okay, yeah.
California, and then Sea Florid is from Santa Rita Hills.
Okay.
This is nice.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I particularly
Willamette.
enjoy, the more I drink Pinot, I really enjoy Oregon. I mean, they're,
Yeah.
even the little ones, they're in, well, what's the name of the town? I did that with, it'll come to me, hold on. But it's a tiny town just north of Portland, and they made some great wines as well. It's just the climate, right? The region.
So it's much more like Burgundy there, and even some of our, like Monterey on our northern coast, where it's damp, cool evenings and then hot days, and that's what Pinot Noir really, really likes. It's a very temperamental grape.
Yeah.
And what I like about this, starting with the color, the fact that it's dark. I mean, it's not black dark, but it's dark
For a Pinot.
right? And a lot of the California Pinots are going to be a little bit lighter, so they're going to be, to me, less body, less full flavor. This is really nice.
It's really fun to put all 3 of them next to each other and
Yeah.
then just look at we
Yeah.
call it the tale of the terroir, and just
Yeah.
look at this is what Santa Rita
Yeah.
Pinot looks like, Pinot Noir looks like, this is what Russian River looks like, and this
Yeah.
is what Dundee Hills looks like.
Oh, yeah.
You can buy it as a set as
And
well.
I love the branding and the label.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Funky Jory.
Funky Jory.
So cool. Because, too, a lot of the times labels have, and we talked about this with the whiskey conversation we had with Off Hours, where a lot of the times the stigma around just labeling, it becomes stale. It doesn't cater necessarily to the younger the audience. And this, for sure, is cool.
Right.
And it stands out.
It definitely stands out.
Yep.
And the whole phrasing around it, El Pino Club, is awesome.
The cool kids clubs for
Yeah.
sure. It's limited edition. Obviously it's meant to be bought as a series so that you can taste all 3 of them, and it's something that we'll add to each year.
So we can just sign up for that on the site, right?
You could just buy it. You could buy all 3 if you
Oh.
liked. Yep.
That's really cool. I will credit Mr. Bart Zandbergen for introducing Pinots to
Oh, really?
Scott and I.
Really?
More than just like the everyday, for sure.
Yeah.
Ever since we started hanging out and doing more stuff together, you have opened eyes that a Pinot can be more than just a light drinker.
Yeah.
Right.
And someone like me who likes a full-bodied wine,
Right.
More there than just like a really light everyday drinker, that was refreshing to find,
Yeah.
And so why I was always going to these bigger wines is because I like that more, rounded wine, more depth, these
Yeah.
kind of things.
Pinots definitely have that as well.
And I never knew.
I think it's a natural progression. A lot of people do that when they first get into wine. If they don't like Chardonnay, they go to Cab. And then it's educating themselves on the different grape varieties
Right.
and different varietals and
Right.
all that.
Yeah, and they make their way back, hopefully.
Right.
Like for me, a Pinot, you could drink, so I'll be not the opposite, but I'm going to apply the same rule to a champagne where a Pinot can be drank any time of the year.
Very versatile.
Very versatile, where to me, the last thing I'll drink when it's 90 degrees outside or want to is a heavy cab.
Yeah.
I'm not walking to the beach with like Petite Syrah Cab and just like, here we go, guys.
You do though.
No, I don't. Wait.
You don't do that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Throw
There's
some
no
ice
rules.
cubes on my
judge.
cab.
it's-
No rules.
This is just commentary. There is zero judging going
No
on here.
judgy.
But like a cool Pinot, just slightly cooled on a summer day, is wonderful to drink as a red.
Yeah.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Very refreshing.
Shouldn't all red wine be drank chilled to some point?
Yeah, what's the
62 degrees.
Okay.
So if it's 90 out, 62 is chilled, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
not trying to be sarcastic, but
It is, yeah.
And I have lately been putting before if I take it out of my wine cellar and it warms up, I'll throw it just in the regular fridge for 10 or 15
Yep.
minutes, and I've been
The
liking
10-minute
it.
rule. Yeah.
Is that the 10-minute rule?
Well, it's a joke, but we say putting in your regular refrigerator for 10 minutes
Yeah.
on the whites, and then the opposite with the reds. Put it in the refrigerator and then take it out and let it sit for 10 minutes before you drink it to get it kind of that perfect temperature.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I enjoy a red that has a slight chill on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good. If it's like straight room temperature, now if you're drinking or having like a big old tomahawk or something, maybe a little different story. You've progressed through, but just if you're going to open a bottle of wine and start drinking
Slightly
it.
cooled, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious to know when the pandemic hit in terms of the wine industry with restaurants shutting down and all that,
Yeah.
can you kind of summarize what Foley family experienced and then where we sit today?
Yeah.
Like from then to now and the kind of the transition in between?
Yeah, it's been interesting, especially to where we are today. So obviously, when the pandemic hit, I primarily sell in the restaurant side of the business. So business was thriving, we were growing, everything was dandy. Retail was doing well as well. The pandemic hit.
So hold on. Normal process for a restaurant looks like what? Pre-COVID in terms of determining what we buy, how much we buy, when we buy, what does that normal cycle look like?
As far as their purchasing
Pre-
pattern,
pre-
or just
Yeah, what we're buying and in your the predictiveness of the business beforehand. I would imagine it's pretty uniform in the sense
Yeah.
that we're doing X amount of volume. We know what our customers are buying.
Right.
This is what we're getting.
Yeah.
And to make shelf space becomes another whole separate conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, every restaurant has a menu. They're obviously trying to appease the masses, but also have those, different interesting notes or offerings as well. So it is pretty, I would say it's pretty even keel. They know what the trends are year over year, when their spikes are, what people are drinking and all that. So it's usually pretty predictive. It's pretty, safe bets is what I said earlier. People
Yeah.
like kind of a safe bet on the menu when they're
And
out
who
to eat.
drives the purchasing? Is it if they have a sommelier on site or the manager, who's making
Yeah,
those decisions?
there's usually a food and beverage team, so there may be
Okay.
somebody dedicated just to beverage. There may be somebody, it depends on the scale of the restaurant, whether it's, fine dining or polished casual dining. They might have somebody dedicated just to wine, but they may have somebody that oversees just the beverage program, so beer, wine, and spirits as well.
Okay.
And they're ordering from their distributor. The distributor is obviously educating them on everything new that's coming into their portfolio and providing them new offerings as well. and just kind of talking to them about what's going on in the marketplace and, what others are doing that's working well or maybe not working.
Yeah.
And they're, kind of always just monitoring what's going on the menu and trying to keep everything in stock.
Yeah. So now pre-COVID, what things looked like, and then what happened?
Yeah, so everything was kind of, like I said, going along smoothly. It literally was overnight. I would wake up every morning, and I oversee national account on premise for the country, and our numbers, I just was waiting. Where's rock bottom?
Right.
When is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? Our rock bottom was really like April, May. And we were down, my channel was down 97%.
Oh,
so the restaurants completely stopped. Once they were back open and doing, to go, I guess really it was just to go at that point.
So that cycle took how long to get to 97?
So
Was it
March to April. I mean, March to April.
A month.
It stopped overnight
That
because
is
the
crazy,
second they
right?
shut down restaurants, and we'd never had experienced this before. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody was brainstorming. Everybody was trying anything and everything. And everybody was, it was new territory for everybody. So it basically stops overnight. Then, the smart kind of figured out, okay, let's just start doing to go or delivery. Some people were kind of working in that gray area of just selling bottles to go because they have all this inventory they're sitting on that's going to spoil, especially the things that were in the draft lines. And, just fresh ingredients and that type of stuff. So with wine, once kind of the red tape was cut through and people were able to sell wine and spirits to go, then we started seeing everybody just trying to sell their inventory just to kind of scrape by. So they started selling their inventory at 30%, 50% off, depending on what it was, and just kind of
not buying, obviously, anything.
Not buying anything. I couldn't sell a bottle of anything to save my life. I mean, we were everybody was brainstorming. Okay, where do we go now? Can we help retail? Can we help restaurants? I spent a lot of my time assisting our retail partners and literally going and buying to support the restaurants. We would go to BJ's or CPK or Cheesecake Factory and buy lunch.
A bunch of wine?
No, we'd buy lunch and we would take it to the frontline workers at the grocery stores because they were the people that had been there since 3 o'clock in the morning. It's now lunch. They haven't eaten anything. And we were just taking meals into them as in a way to support the restaurants, but then also to support those in the retail because their world flipped overnight as well. So it was interesting. It was strange. It was scary and exciting at the same time. And then obviously as things kind of started to open back up, every state was completely different. People worked through their inventory and started to say, okay, now I need basically dual purpose serves. So it was something with the screw cap that they could pour in restaurant if people could come in restaurant or in the parking lot or wherever they were serving them, but also would be something that they could sell basically at retail as well. So if somebody was coming in to pick up their food to go, they'd say, would you like to buy a couple bottles of wine as well? So they started selling these dual purpose serves, and then as things progressed a little bit more, everybody kind of went to an amended or reduced menu.
So that's so interesting. Just that little thing of, all right, if I'm going to buy and go a wine, I want it to be a screw top. Don't sell me a cork top because I just want to open it and drink. Because
the next question would be there was people like Mastro's. We mentioned Mastro's before. They were selling all of their wines at 50% off. If you're going to buy a wine at Mastro's, you're going home where you've got a corkscrew. Some people were going over to their friend's house. Who knows what they were doing?
Right.
Drinking in the parking lot. I don't know. No judgment.
That's amazing, right?
But to me, it's crazy how the laws changed or temporarily changed, where people walked out with cocktails and cups, and it's okay to leave a restaurant with a cocktail.
And let me just tell you the things that they were putting the cocktails in. I would go to support just local restaurants around here, and it's you'd get a soup container from one. You'd get literally something styrofoam from another. They were just literally trying to use anything they could, and trying to stay alive and scrape together with what they could. There was so many funny memes going around about it's okay as long as it doesn't have a straw in it type of thing.
Just as a quick sidebar, to give our hats off to the owners of the restaurants and the business people that they saw a situation, they pivoted, they did what they had to do. Now that industry is probably where my heart cries the most.
Mm-hmm.
Service, hair salons, restaurants, and so forth. But for those that were able to pivot and figure out ways, okay, we're going to do screw cap wine. We're going to do whatever it takes. And as hard as it was, the ones that are still standing, I'm really, really thankful.
Absolutely. It's a scrappy industry. They're resourceful. These operators are not, they're smart. and they'll
resilient.
figure out a way. Yeah.
Very resilient. And to me, that's a silver lining of just like affirming the fact that we as people and Americans, or if you will, or just humans, are resilient. You know, you back us into a corner, we'll figure a way.
There's always another way. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad. You know, I think the statistic came out in California, 70% of restaurants had to close because of it.
Yeah.
So, and you can see when you're talking from 1 month over, your sales basically down to zero, basically. You know, so you imagine each one of those restaurants are the same because they're your
and
customer.
it's not an industry that has large cash
exactly.
reserves,
Huge,
right? So
huge margins. Yeah, that's not it.
Yeah, you made me think, Devin. There's a local place in Laguna Beach, Mexican food. They were serving margaritas, and I think it was in like salad dressing cups.
I mean, honestly, it was literally anything they could find. I mean, literally plastic bags, anything that they could find. I mean, all of a sudden, the second they said go, you can do to go, they're like, all right, what do we got? Let's go. Like, you know, I mean, selling to the next customer that walks in that door because that's that extra margin that they need, you know?
Right. Now, conversely to that, I would come home every day in April and in May, and you know this, in our community, and there'd be 15, 20 people, all, you know, on their lawn chairs out front. Everyone's drinking wine.
Yep.
So we're all buying,
Right.
I mean, I guess at first maybe we're drinking our wine.
Yeah.
But then we quickly transitioned.
Pantry loading. Everybody's pantry loading. And
okay, so what did that then
So
look like?
retail obviously flipped, you know, as fast as on-premise went down, off-premise or retail went up, right? Because everybody was going to the store less often than they used to, and they were loading up, right? So, I mean, the retailers could not put product on the shelf fast enough. So, you know, the pantry loading helped the overall industry because retail was then, you know, up gangbusters and making up for the loss of the on-premise in the restaurants. So, you know,
But does it compare from a distribution standpoint of restaurant distribution of a wine or a spirit versus what we were consuming?
I would say, really anything under the sun was being consumed, right?
Yeah.
So I think people were equal opportunity during that time and kind of willing to like experiment a little bit more. But I mean, there's definitely some offerings that are more on-premise centric than like retail, that was of things that you're purchasing at retail. But really, it was a balance. I mean, it kind of balanced itself out.
And then within your company, because certainly was the case in ours, where insurance is so archaic and probably 3 years behind any normal level of technology curve, COVID certainly compressed our acceleration.
Yeah.
Demandingly so.
Right.
So what changes from a technology standpoint? I mean, from consumers, restaurants obviously innovated dramatically in a short amount of time. Yeah. What about the wine space?
So two things. First of all, if they weren't already doing DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats or something like that, and they had been resisting and kind of waiting and just, you know, dragging their heels just because they didn't have time, I mean, they started doing that overnight, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody had to get on board with some kind of third-party delivery service. Secondly, which I think is the most interesting, is the good old QR code. So about 10 years ago, I was working for Brown-Forman and Jack Daniels at the time, and we had QR codes, and we were trying to educate everybody on QR codes and how it was going to be the next big thing. And everybody was like, yeah, whatever. Like, you know, I mean, it kind of caught on for a minute, like with the younger generation, but it just never really went anywhere. And now everybody's grandma can do a QR code, you know? So that's something that, like,
that's so
now
true.
You can't get a menu. Like, so everybody now knows, everybody, like, and their dog and their grandma and their pet, you know, like, knows how to do a QR code. So that's something that obviously everybody had to figure out real quick.
Yeah.
So
what about online sales? Did you guys notice a difference in your direct-to-consumer online sales?
Oh, yeah. I mean, through the roof. Just like retail. Direct-to-consumer is a lot like retail, and obviously it was smart because people didn't even have to leave their home, right? They could just go online and order what they were already ordering and that type of thing. So
somewhat related to that, I remember early shopping when, you know, limited availability to go to a grocery store, and I went to a Whole Foods in town, and I noticed that all the paper was gone, all the paper products, you know, that whole thing, and that the wine and alcohol was still pretty full. And I remember talking to the checker, like, it just seems really odd to me that people would go for toilet paper versus alcohol. Just and maybe 3 or 4
Well, you
weeks.
didn't know that COVID caused chronic diarrhea?
No, I did not.
It doesn't. So that should have never
That should
happened.
have
By the
never
way,
been a thing.
Literally
Just be clear about that.
2 weeks later, back in the store for whatever, and now like the alcohol shelves, and I
Yeah.
had the same checker, and she's like, "It happened."
Yep.
Oh,
It's
God.
caught up.
Oh,
It's
God.
caught up. We've all been home for 10 days and everybody's drinking
Yeah.
excessively now.
It's a good thing, Bart. You have inventory.
I have inventory.
You did not need to succumb to the
Nope.
acquisition of wine off the shelves.
But fast forward to today, obviously, restaurants are reopening. The business is back. It's different state by state, obviously. But, there's people. I went to North Italia not too long ago, and they're doing it right. I mean, they are maximizing and making up for everything they could because they are still using the outdoor parking lot dining space. They've got indoor, outdoor, everything, and they're just trying to.
Good for them.
Yep. I mean, they're working on. I mean, every industry, I keep saying, is kind of in the same boat. But, there's a labor shortage and there's a material shortage. So now, from last year where we couldn't sell anything to now the business is back and everybody's trying to restock and kind of figure out what's going to be on their menu, there's a major out of stock issue with all of our products because everything's sold so quickly. To get glass, to get labels, to get closures for the wine, where it used to take 4 to 8 weeks, and it's now taking 18 to 20 weeks because the labor shortage that's out there, or these factories are getting shut down when there's an outbreak or something like that. So everything is backlogged. Imports to get stuff in from New Zealand. Everything is, it's sitting at shore for several weeks. It's here, but it's sitting at shore maybe another, month before we get the
Exactly.
container.
That's
So
crazy.
we're
That's
on
a
the,
4 to 5 times the lead time.
Yep. So we have, it went from last year of not being able to sell anything, and then quickly we sold through everything, and now it's just a matter of being able to keep up with, we've got the wine, we just can't get it into, and we've done things where we've shipped things or cases without the outer shippers
Salad
labeled.
dressing- salad
It's like,
dressing
yeah,
buckets.
exactly. It's like a plain white case that's going out because
Yeah.
we have no other option at this point. So it's starting to level out a little bit, but there's still definitely labor and material shortages that are in the industry. So we're doing everything we can to support the restaurants and get them what they need so that they can sell and get back to kind of a new norm.
Right.
So this starts from the winemaker directly in terms of them having staff and the bottles are there.
No,
How do we distribute the
No. We can't get the glass. So we, as
Can't
the
get the-
winemakers and the wineries and
wineries can't
the
even get the
production
glass.
team, they can't get the glass. Yeah.
Oh my.
So it's
But it's
sitting
not
in
just-
barrels,
yeah.
ready to go,
Yeah.
just can't be distributed.
Yeah, this is stemming from the most basic source of the logistical chain. So like as
Yeah.
an example,
Yeah.
use computer components as an example. The problem in the technology world and accessing TVs, video game systems, whatever it is the specific little components, all the individual pieces that make up each motherboard, each
Yeah.
little part of, so what ordinarily would take, let's say 20 weeks, I'm being told is taking 70 to 80 weeks
Yeah.
before you get a piece. The fact that you can't get glass to pour your juice
But
into a bottle, and then how do you logistically, so then it gets shipped, and
well,
now it's sitting.
It may get shipped because there's also, obviously, because of labor, there's transit times are double.
And
because
it's
they don't
sitting-
have people to actually drive the trucks. They're like, I mean, it's,
That's incredible.
yeah. It's interesting.
Now, what about states that are, so the states that are full, let's say fully functional, the ones that are in the highest demand of your product at this point, maybe not identifying what states those are, but I would imagine that those challenges are even exacerbated based on the fact that they've got full
Right.
scale.
Yeah, so you're seeing a lot of substitutions or just temporary outages. So, like, obviously, we're trying to get the products to the distributors to get to the customers as quickly as possible. But there's lag time, so they're being forced to kind of, substitute temporarily for what's maybe on their menu, or maybe they're just kind of going rogue and generic until kind of things stabilize. So we're seeing a little bit of everything, but it's not easy. It's not easy for the operators, and obviously they're still operating, almost at half staff. So it's definitely interesting. We went from not being able to sell anything to like now we can, but can we get the product?
And go back to the point that Devin said too, is now that we're opening up, all the places are maximizing what they can do. The parking lots still have their full extra patios.
Yeah.
They're still doing to-goes. You know, you can still go in and get a bottle of wine or a cocktail to go. You have a state like Texas that just passed into law that that's going to remain their new norm.
Yeah, most states are, with the exception of, I'll say one, and I won't name it, but there's one state that has not moved forward in that direction, but pretty much everybody else has said, you know, we saw no hindrance from it. And obviously these restaurants need to make up for lost time. So until there's a problem, we'll just proceed.
And we'll have specific requirements on what that means for to go, like in a Ziploc bag or zip tied, or you're seeing different.
No straw.
Yeah.
No straw.
Not a Dixie cup with saran wrap on top.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had that.
It's a highly regulated industry, and it'll remain that way. So there will be, I'm sure, very clear laws on what.
In fairness, as it should.
Yeah.
Solo cups, not Dixie cups.
Exactly.
Right.
Here's what it should be. So you guys all know my wife. So Brittany is amazing.
Our audience does not all know.
They don't all know Brittany, but you guys do. So why it should not be served with a straw. So we went to a concert at the Hollywood Bowl, and they will serve you a full bottle of wine in a cup with a straw. And so Brittany ordered a bottle of wine with a straw in a cup at a concert. Of course, it was drink by one person. And you can imagine what the outcome was of a single person that doesn't drink that much drinking a bottle of wine with a straw. So I think the idea of not serving with a straw is a good idea. Long story short.
Well, we had the same issue. We had cans of wine, and they were 375s, which is 2 glasses of wine. So we literally had to make like marketing materials to show people this is 2 glasses of wine,
This is 2
not
glasses.
By the way, let's talk about the cans of wine.
Yeah.
Genius.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's something that'll go away. Cans, and there was a little bit, again, of an aluminum shortage last year because everybody put something in can, whether it's a seltzer, wine, cocktails to go, all that type of stuff. So
you gave us a Pinot in a can.
Yeah, Acrobat Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
Those cool cans.
It was nice.
Yeah. I mean, we do a Rosé, Pinot Grigio Chardonnay, and a Pinot Noir. And, it's so easy. You're going on the boat, you just grab a couple of those, but you do have to be aware that it's, 2 glasses of wine versus 1. So
you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, it's,
but it was nice.
Yeah, it is.
Or even to, in that scenario, if you want to just mix it a little bit with some bubbly.
Yep.
To give it a little bit more, I don't know.
Scott.
Yeah,
please.
Listen to him with his spritzers over there.
Spritzers.
Yeah. When when you're on the boat and it's 115 degrees, it actually is kind of nice.
Is that how you drink cab when it's 115? You make it a spritzer.
Hey, I thought
where there's a will, there's a way.
That's a trust tree. Don't tell my secret.
Don't judge.
What are we drinking now?
So this is the Foley Johnson, which is rooted in Rutherford, right on Highway 29 in Napa. Beautiful property.
Nick loves this wine.
I love this wine too. It's right on Highway 29 in Napa. It used to be the old Sawyer property, if you're familiar with Napa, but the Foleys bought this. The name Foley Johnson comes from Bill Foley, and then his wife is Carol Johnson, so that's an homage to her maiden name as well. So.
Now, under the Foley label, what are the different wines that they do make? Nick? This is
the Foley Johnson?
Yep.
Oh, I don't even know.
Well, you gave me one.
Well, there's
the
40.
print.
You want
they have
40?
Of this specific.
Yeah, no, they have a handmade one that literally has the fingerprint on it, and that's my favorite cab that they make.
There's a Cab Petit Verdot. There's a Sauv Blanc. There's a Chardonnay.
She's the pro.
Yeah, not all of them are.
But that's why I asked you first. I wasn't expecting the right answer.
I just want to add a comment. As a cab, it's not my go-to if I'm having a big steak dinner, as I mentioned before. But the tannins on here are really soft. It's can I say silky?
Yeah,
the tannins are silky, and it's drinking nice just all by itself without any food.
So, and this is a 2018.
2018, yep. This is 75% Cabernet, 18% Merlot, 4 Cab Franc, and 3 Petit Syrah. So maybe that's
Classic Bordeaux.
Yep.
That's what that percentage makes the classic Bordeaux. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, so what's the difference between this and when they have that thumbprint stamp handmade or whatever?
Smaller production.
That's all
Yeah,
it is?
yeah, smaller production. So not all of our wines, so a lot of, I should say, most of the labels have what we call wholesale wines and then direct-to-consumer, which are those handcrafted, smaller production wines for our direct-to-consumer purchasing guests and fans like you.
Yes.
You're right. That is very silky
Yeah,
for as young as it is.
yeah.
Not necessarily Nick's.
See, it is, though.
You want
Yeah.
the moisture just sucked right out of your mouth.
Not in this setting. If I were to do that, I would need water. I would be smacking my lips. It would not be just a normal. But with like a big dinner or something, yes, that's fantastic. That's what I go to.
So, as a consumer question, if I was to go to each individual, let's say I went to Lincourt versus the the Foley Family Society website,
Yep.
and I sign up for a club, do I get any difference?
So there's no fees to sign up. So once you sign up, you're basically just saying, I want to be a Foley Food and Wine Society member. You're giving us permission to communicate with you. So there's no cost associated with that. The only cost is whatever you decide to put into your cart and purchase. So right now, I'll just say this now before I forget, there is a summer special or a kickoff to summer special. So like if you went and picked, wines from Lancaster, Chalk Hill, Foley Johnson, Lincourt, wherever, put them into your cart, you're going to get 40% off. Once you're a member, make sure that you sign up to be a member first, and then you'll automatically get that discount on any purchase. Then we'll also kind of keep you updated on what's going on with each individual winery, whether there's an event or special discounts or just special offers as well.
Does it apply to Four Graces also?
Absolutely. Yep. Four Graces is definitely a little gem as well.
Yeah, it really is. So
Yep.
that's a great segue.
Okay.
Segue.
So I don't know if I gave you it was either when I poured it when you came to the house.
You did.
Or,
That's how it happened.
Yeah. He came to the house and knowing his
Yeah.
affinity to Pinot.
The Pinot Noir, the
trying
Pinot
to
Gris.
do you a favor. Pinot Noir.
Okay.
This is for you, Devin.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I
Even though I didn't even
specifically-
know, I
You
do
didn't know,
appreciate it.
I poured the Four Graces
Yeah.
for him, and he absolutely enjoyed
Yeah.
it, loved it.
Yeah.
And I shared with him the website
Yeah.
and how to get. And I think at the time it was a sale, which is what you signed up for. Not only a purchase, but then you signed up for the wine club, and now you're on their regular allocation.
I am on the allocation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tim Jones is the winemaker. You need to actually maybe have him here next time he's down here or virtual. He is one of my favorite winemakers out of all of ours. He's fun. He's
Yeah.
easy to talk to, but I think he's wildly talented in winemaking. And
Yeah. Let's have him on.
yeah,
That would be
a
great.
great personality too. He's so fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really
Yeah,
good.
easily. We can
Enlighten
make that
me.
happen.
I don't even know. Enlighten me. What is Four Graces?
The
What?
Four Graces.
I'm not the person to do that. It's a Pinot Noir.
Pinot
that's,
Noir, yeah.
that
Willamette
from
Valley.
Devin's suggestion.
Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Willamette Valley. So they're known for their Pinot Noir. There's the Reserve Dundee Hills Pinot Noir. You won't be able to get your hands on it this year. But there is also a Pinot Blanc and a Pinot Gris as well. But beautiful wines.
I've had the Pinot Gris.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice too.
We'll have to get you the Pinot Blanc. I'm sure you like Pinot Blancs as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
I am missing out on my Foley family. I gotta
Step it
step
up.
it up.
Step it up, Nick.
I gotta get in on all these.
Well, it is. I would say it's very interesting to learn the portfolio, and it's a huge portfolio, which becomes daunting as a consumer to just kind of sort through that, and how do you kind of figure out which, with all of those brands and labels, what's the process to figure out where I settle? Starting with probably type of wine, but then from there, how do I disseminate
Yeah.
which products I want to buy?
So our website does a phenomenal job, I think. If you're kind of in that area where you just want to discover, they put together some bundles and stuff too. So if you want to taste from different different labels and different varietals, they put together some nice groupings for the person that it's kind of exploring. But I think it.
The tasting room in
Yeah,
Santa
tasting-
Barbara too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Baccarat.
Bacara.
Bacara.
Resort, which is a Ritz-Carlton. There is
It's
a tasting
amazing.
room there, and then also in the Vista Colina in Napa. We have a Foley Food and Wine Society tasting room, which is basically like going to somebody's living room and being able to taste any of these wines. They'll pour you a splash of any of them. So that's definitely a nice opportunity as well to kind of get exposure to the portfolio and the different, I mean, honestly, if you just want to learn, it doesn't matter if it's our brand or any brand, but if you just want to learn more about the varietals that are out there and you're new to wine, it's a great place to go.
No better time to start than the summer sale. Right? 40% off, right? The bundles, I imagine many of the bundles would be on.
Yeah, everything's.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys have a
time to do
side.
some
You guys have a
shopping.
side jam. You guys have a side jam. Selling wine.
Yeah. Influencers, we're going to have to start paying
That's
you.
That's right. Sponsorship. That's great.
We
This
are
was great.
optimized.
Yeah.
We try to be. It's an ever-ending, never-ending pursuit. Thank you very much for coming in,
Absolutely.
sharing
Thanks for
some of
having
these
me.
beautiful
It's
wines
fun.
with you.
Yeah. This was great, Devin. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you want to ask the question? Your closing question?
Final thought question?
Yeah.
All right, Devin. Over your years as a wine professional, what is your ultimate lesson learned?
That you're never done learning. There's just something to learn
Whoa.
every
You hear
day.
That was profound.
Deep.
That was great.
that? I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Great job. Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.